What does NASA, the U.S. Air Force, the European Union, and Christian nationalism all have in common? A grand plan to destroy man in 2025. A NASA document on future warfare. The time is now. In 2001, NASA wrote an implementation plan titled Future Strategic Issues in Future Warfare. It outlines a plan to transition from the slow-motion process of globalization to complete control of the vectors of warfare needed to empower the elite. And according to a German author, Dr. Joachim Sonntag, who wrote an exposé on this and other related topics in a book titled 2025, The Endgame, translated from German and available on Amazon. For this plan of global world control by the elite, he writes, quote, "For this plan to work and for the expected resistance from the populations not to threaten the plan, the elite need this all-encompassing crisis. The number 2025 stands as a synonym for the day X on which the power takeover is to take place. And this takeover will take place simultaneously in the USA, Germany, and other EU countries," end quote. The all-encompassing crisis Sonntag is referring to is a policy statement made by David Rockefeller during the 1994 Economic Committee of the United Nations, where he said, quote, "We are on the brink of global transformation. All we need is the right all-encompassing crises and the nations will agree to the new world order," end quote. So, just to be clear, Rockefeller is spouting a grand conspiracy theory that is a conspiracy fact. The NASA Future Warfare paper prepared and released in 2001 states in bold print that the target date for implementing the proposed transition is none other than 2025. The U.S. Air Force describes how weather will be weaponized. On the heels of the Rockefeller Declaration made in 1994 above, the Air Force submitted a stunning new global weapon to be implemented, the weather. It was titled Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. It was written in 1996, just 2 short years after the Rockefeller Declaration of War on Democracy. The document states in part, quote, "In 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can control the weather by benefiting from new technologies and by focusing on developing those technologies for warfare," end quote. With such a weapon, climate change has no relevance and by comparison is a farce. Who needs greenhouse gases and electric cars when a weather weapon can generate rain, storms, lightning anywhere in the world, or do the exact opposite and stop hail or snowfall and create a drought, effectively starving an entire country or continent? And with the weather weapon and the cessation of clouds and rainfall, you can create a famine wheresoever you choose. Some have already speculated that the rash of wildfires, hurricanes, and tsunamis may be man-made, but who can say for sure? How would you know? It would all be called an act of God and cause panic and a massive kill-off of population, just as the Georgia Guidestones suggest, that the world's population is to be reduced by 90%, a fact I've covered in far greater depth in the book The Last Harvest by Lucien Mars, available on Amazon. The X date is naturally, or unnaturally enough, the upcoming year of 2025. The European Union and the New World Order. On December 7, 2017, Martin Schulz, the leader of the Social Democratic Party in Germany, called for the United States of Europe to be established by guess when? 2025. According to the plan, quote, "The day will come when governments will be forced to admit that an integrated Europe is an accomplished fact, without saying anything in terms of defining its foundations. All that would then be left for them to do is to merge all of their autonomous institutions into a single federal administration and then proclaim the United States of Europe," end quote. According to Sonntag, quote, "Germany will then be merging with a democratically illegitimate, lobbyist-controlled bureaucratic monster, the United States of Europe," end quote. And that would end the free and democratic Europe. The takeover of Europe by the New World Order will take place in Germany and other EU countries simultaneously during the target date of 2025. The Christian nationalism neo-fascist movement in America. Not to be left out of such an ominous year, the Heritage Foundation has come up with its own goddamn plan called, appropriately enough, Project 2025, which aims at tearing down all checks and balances inherent in a democracy so that an autocratic government and dictatorship can be established. The plan is backed by well-funded, tax-exempt, religiously exempt Christian terrorists, for lack of a better word, for what would you call a plan to destroy democracy as was attempted during the infamous January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol? And how many Christian so-called pastors have raised their voices against the attempt to hang Mike Pence, himself a poster child for self-righteous evangelical Christianity? How many? Yet the sheep want the same Donald J. Trump back so he can finish what he began in January 6th, all with the help of the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 plan to destroy the U.S. Constitution by strategically dismantling the American democratic institutions. And of course, the only way such a neo-fascist political policy can be instituted is by the destruction of democracy and the rise of a dictator, none other than Donald J. Trump, who almost succeeded the first time. But rest assured, if re-elected, democracy will be ended and Christians will have lent all their support to bringing about the New World Order they say they're opposed to. Oh, but if it's a new Christian world order, by all means. But of course, the New World Order only wants a one-world homogenized religion of peace and prosperity. Another big lie, even bigger than the stolen 2020 election by Joe Biden. As stated in The Last Harvest, there is a prophecy that 2025 will host the last U.S. president, and most likely widespread violence and ballot box destruction, all provoked by Dictator Donald, will cause the chaos of the upcoming election to be decided by the supremely corrupt court of the United States as it did in Bush versus Gore, and Trump will be illegally installed as a pseudo-president, aka Dictator Donald. And what will Dictator Donald do? Listen up, Christian morons. He'll turn on Christianity and make it into a one-world religion. He was ready to have Mike Pence hung by the neck until dead, his own loyal lapdog. What do you think he'll do to a horde of people he hates? Those who protest will be facing what Pence was facing. Hang them all, or send them to FEMA camps for, maybe indefinitely. The target date for the Christian fascist takeover? It's in the title, Project 2025. Some presidents say the strangest things. So, you're on board with the consensus that the movers and shakers want to depopulate the planet for profit? Well, instead of joining the tin-foil hat crowd, consider who's on your side. None other than former President John F. Kennedy, who said in a historic speech on April 27, 1961, quote, "We are dealing with a monolithic and nefarious global conspiracy that spreads its influence by covert means. Infiltration instead of invasion, overthrow instead of elections, i.e. Christian nationalism and the Capitol insurrection on January 6th. Intimidation rather than self-determination, i.e. January 6th insurrection, MAGA death threats, Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, etc., with guerrilla fighters at night instead of armies by day. It is a system that is built with huge human and material resources, a complex and efficient machinery that combines military, i.e. weather as global weapon for famine, diplomatic intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Their plans are not published as of 1961, but are now openly documented and verified. Dissenters are not praised, but silenced." End quote. The intention of Kennedy was to further expose the plans which he knew well enough since he was an insider to the globalization plan early in his presidency until he read the writing on the wall. For his dissension and threat to expose the plan, he was publicly and brutally murdered in Dallas, Texas. Heraclitus of Ephesus stated around 500 BC that, quote, "through its very incredibility, Truth eludes recognition, end quote. But how incredible is it that billionaires working on building deep underground bunkers and maglev transports for decades that take them from one underground city to another across the globe? It is a fact of life that they've been working tirelessly for shielding themselves from their own plan, and all of it with taxpayer money to shield themselves from the nuclear war that is also being planned as we enter the Ezekiel zone, to be explained in the next Notes from the Night Side. Remember this well. These are not prophecies. They are documented plans to be set in motion on the agreed-upon date X of 2025. And is it a coincidence that Elon the Muskrat purchased Twitter and renamed it X, as in X marks the spot of the beast, and the beast has a name, the New World Order? As we grapple with the startling revelations of global plans for 2025, it's crucial to look deeper and understand the forces shaping our future. For those daring enough to delve into these mysteries, The Last Harvest by Lucian Mars offers an unflinching gaze into the secret history of Satan, alien agendas, and the Illuminati's grip on humanity's destiny. Find it on Amazon and see beyond the veil. Stay vigilant and join us next time as we step into the Ezekiel zone, where the lines between prophecy and plan blur. Make sure to hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay connected. Remember, the truth is often stranger than fiction. Until next time, stay curious and question the world around you.